Is there any other comments from our community?
The one thing I do want to say, my name is Cindy Lewis. I work very closely with Freedom Radio, Ralph, and the other Black producers here at MTN over the course of maybe about three years or so. And I come with a very unique perspective in that it's somewhat trifling. Like I said, work with the producers, Freedom Radio. I'm a business owner who actually came in to survey and think about, undertaking a membership of my own, which would actually also cover youth and some work that we do with young people. So kind of have that perspective, and then also just intricately involved with the process that Mr. Crowder just described in working with MTN staff. And so he did a very good job of describing it, but the one thing that bothers me the most at this very moment is that all of these producers put in an extreme amount of passion and time and work and effort into what it is that they produce, what they put together. And just the other day, we try to keep MTN executive director and some staff abreast of what we're doing. And like Ralph said, we're doing things across the country. We've got people internationally right now that are vying for his time and attention to bring the very film that he wanted to share with the MTN community and broader community here in Minneapolis. And then also the national community that we talked about with the National Black Journalism Association that was just here. Mr. Phelan has made it very well known what he thinks about the work that is being done here. Now, Ralph talked about whether or not this was personal or not, and I'm sorry, he doesn't know that I'm gonna do this, but Mr. Phelan, I was very disappointed to receive an unsubscribing notification simply saying that I'm not interested in what this young man, this MTN producer is doing. I think you made note several times of the fact that Hands Up Don't Shoot, our youth movement, is a MTN produced piece, which it is not. I mean, there are some things that we can talk about that, but you made it very well known that you're not interested in what's happening here. And that bothers me.
Can I say just a couple of factual corrections? There's a lot of incorrect information in this presentation, but I won't pick it apart. But there's two key things that I think should be clear because they seem to be a huge crux on what is being argued. Access is a word that has multiple meanings. And in terms of public access, what we provide is specific. So when there's a accusation being made that we're denying access, there are incorrect interpretations of that because access is traditionally a form of non-commercial media where the public can create content, television to air on cable channels, and that's what we do. So when you say that there's access being denied, I would argue with that because we provide access. That is our mission and our goal. The second thing is that no one has ever said, I have never said that I feel threatened or that I feel threatened by anybody. There was a comment made in a telephone conversation when details over this public event that is in question were being argued, and we were telling a member was a staff member from what I was reported to me was telling a person on the phone that we cannot provide these things that you're asking us to provide. We can only provide this limited event. And then questions of racial disparity and inequity came up, and that person's response was to say, I'm feeling threatened by this phone call. I need you to talk to Michael because he's the one who I just no longer can deal with this. Nobody has ever said they felt threatened by anybody. That was a contextual thing in a conversation. Perhaps an unfortunate choice of words. Those are two factual things I wanted to point out. There's a lot of other details in here that are incorrect, but just so.
Would this be incorrect because you were the host of this program and it clearly violated MTN policies on what can be shown during this period of time?
I don't want to address specifics. I don't think that's what this is intended to be. I don't think that's really germane to your arguments. That's just something that you're bringing up. I'm not going to really address the issues. I just wanted to point out those two very key factual issues. We never denied your access to public access.
Mike, I think, just real quick, I just think that based on that response, that almost sounded like a legalese response, where you're defining.
I'm sorry, I'm not having a back and forth. That's not the purpose of this. You gave your public comment. I'm not going to be subject to being attacked.
Oh, no.
Personally, I appreciate your comments, but I just wanted to point out these two very key factual things in your presentation.
Well, I was present during that conversation, you were not, so I don't understand how you can give a factual testimony to what took place. And the other person who was party to that conversation has been removed from all discussion. So that's an issue. So I was the person that was told, you were threatening me, Ralph. I feel threatened by you and Ralph. So just so we're all clear, we do have very detailed documentation of all the discussions that were had between myself and the MTN staff, to include, and what he said was, we were demanding or asking for things that could not be provided, and I've got emails that show, stark contrast to that, and so we'd like to submit this. We don't need to go back and forth, but we would like to have a very clear picture painted of the experience that we have undergone. And so we'll do that. And I don't know how you feel about this, but we would like to collect. If you're willing to, and if you're interested to know here,
This is a public meeting.
That's right. So we would just like to, sorry. So go ahead, carry on. We're just gonna pass this on.
My name is Demetria Williams, and I've been a producer
Absolutely.
for about 7 years. And I think one of my understandings unfortunately, about the game that we have to play is people have these definitions in their head, right? So let's just take the phrase, be fair. What I've come to understand is when you have, everybody knows, we can play the game if we would like to, but we understand that we live in a white supremacist existence here in North America. You can deny it or not, that doesn't matter to me. But what I've come to understand is you can stand in your box and say, let's be fair, as you hold everything necessary that you need in the situation. But you as another group that has had everything taken from them, and then you want to still stand in your box and say, let's be fair. So you hold the definitions, you hold the understanding, you hold everything, and let's take beauty for instance. We know that in society, in order to be beautiful, you're supposed to have long hair and be skinny. We understand what the definition is to be beautiful in this country. Now, the only reason why that exists is because you hold the power to define that understanding. But we know that it's not true. But you can still stand because all the weight is on your side to develop the understanding. So when you say access, when you say talk about being specific, you're speaking from a power platform. So you hold all the definitions. So even if we sit here and we explain ourselves into the ground, you still have the power to take the mat out from underneath us. The truth is, it's unfair. We know it is. We can sit here and go back and forth, play politics, talk. We can talk till next year. My hope was that at the end of these meetings that took place, once I found out that this particular situation or show that we have been talking about for a year. We have been planning this, and we had national people coming, national spokesmen coming. We had it lined out, and this is like the first thing that we had unified on to commit to and to bring to the stage here. And it was a beautiful opportunity. We was having a journalism conference in Minneapolis when black men are being slaughtered on an everyday basis. And to not have someone say, you know what, we misunderstood the situation, what can we do to make this happen? That's when I decided that I was gonna allow myself to be hurt in the situation. Because I'm hurt every day, because we sit around and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, and we allow people to continue to die in the streets, and we just go about our life and we have a good life and we do whatever we do. That's when I allowed this decision to hurt me, was when the reaction to the situation, when it was put on the table, it should have been corrected right then and there. But what I see is people are gonna stand in their power position and continue to redefine and redefine and redefine until you have absolutely nothing left. And I'm not gonna sit here and allow for myself to be chopped up. I'm done with those days. Those days are over. No more chopping up. So it basically boils down to, you're either gonna deal with the situation or you're not. And that's pretty much where I stand. I'm used to what happens and how it goes, and if we get nothing, I'm used to that. I get it. But you have the opportunity to give us something, or you can keep whatever it is, your little box, and whatever it is you have. You can keep it. But you have a choice to make.
My name is Keith Porter. And I'm here to be casual about it. No professional stuff, please. But one thing's missing to me is what was his demands, all right? Because I've been around here a long time, and I volunteer to help people do stuff that you might not have no money for. I do it free. And I want to know what his demands were, because that's what I do. I help. I didn't get a call saying, well, Ralph wants to do this, or Ralph wants to do that. What should we do? I should think my experience in helping people with shows in all communities, not just African American communities, would be invited into the situation before it got to all this. And that's my question. Why? Because I've been around here a long time, and this is what I do. And that's casual. I'm not being professional or anything like that. Because this is...
No, I would actually agree with you as a producer. Like, if there were things that could be helped with, maybe that's the solution, is we open that up to other producers to be able to help out if there are things that need to be done.
I don't even know what it is that, whatever demands that he had that you couldn't meet. There's a solution to every problem.
Well, the event, we actually approached Ralph first about the event.
That's wrong.
That's not true.
From what I understand.
That's not true.
We talked to Paige first.
Yeah.
At the Drinking with Dean event.
Yeah, Paige talked to you.
We talked to her.
We talked to her.
Yeah, you talked to her
Paige
first.
talked to you.
Fine, I was told that she approached you. And that was on May 15th. The event was going to take place in early August. I've charted everything that I understand Paige did, because this has become such a contentious issue, for 3 weeks. If you're asking for these details, we had an understanding we were going to do a one-time event. We were going to fit it into the guidelines that we had. One of the issues that Ralph's bringing up is Friday night we close early. Thursday we close at 9. We close later. Most of our events have been on Thursday. The one event that happened on a Friday that went till 10 o'clock was an anomaly, and it was something that was planned 2 months in advance, and it was before we lost staff. When I approached Ralph the last time to say we could still do a Friday event, but it has to end early, that was based on the realities of our staffing. I mean, there's a lot of details that he's thrown out there that are incorrect from our point of view. Maybe they seem like a discriminatory thing from his point of view. We were gung-ho to have this event. The events usually that we do, we provide staff time, we provide studio time, we provide camera operators, we provide cameras. We want things to go on the media, onto the air. We do what we can from our end. We have 7 staff members, and it's a burden on the staff to do these events, so they have to be planned very carefully and in advance. For 3 weeks, we had an understanding that was going to be a particular type event, which was essentially what I brought back to him later on when it had become a pressing situation where we only had 3 weeks left, and I had discussed it with the board, and the board said, give him an idea of what you can do and give him these options. In that message, I said there's some flexibility, I'd like to hear it, but if there's any deviation from this, we can't do it. The event is canceled.
Well, what's the details? What is it that he wanted to do that couldn't be?
If the details are important, what changed?
I'm missing that whole part.
What changed was after 3 weeks, we said we want to do one event, we want a question and answer thing, and then we want to screen this documentary that we've heard about on our channels and screen it in the studios. 3 weeks after that, we'd had that agreement that was going. It changed to we're not screening the documentary, and we need 3 or 4 days of events. This is, well, it's in an email. It's in an email. And then that changed. Well, I have an email that says we want 4 days of Freedom Radio, a Freedom Radio hub in our space.
No, you didn't get anything like that from us.
Excuse me, just let me tell you what I understand. And I was never involved in this discussion. This was a discussion between Cindy and Paige. Paige brought this to me. I think we eventually kind of settled it down. There was a discussion about whether it's going to be 1 day or 2 days. 2 days was going to cause us some issues.
What issues?
We were staffing, keeping the space open beyond our regular hours.
You could have called them volunteers?
Well, we were discussing with them, but these events are meant to be events that bring in public, and we wanted to screen the documentary. And when that stuff was brought, when that's changed, that's when the issue became contentious. That's when the phone call happened where Paige said she felt threatened, and that's where I stepped in and said, okay, I will talk to you. Now, somewhere in between that time period, this idea of we feel threatened by Ralph or Cindy or both became a big issue, and instead of coming to talk to me and try to figure out the details, it became there's an issue with safety at this space.
What's the date today? The 23rd of August, about 4:20 in the afternoon. And I just want to know why you went to the board and accused me of racism.
You're still, but I have to
Just so we're on the record, both of us recorded on the record that I am speaking as an individual who has been accused of racism.
Okay.
I am not.
Wait, hold on, Ali, you can't do the misfacts, man. Who told you that I accused you of racism?
You insinuated that I am
No,
involved
no,
in.
Ali,
Now let me talk. Let me
listen.
talk.
Well, if you're going to talk to me like that, first
Please,
of all, because
please.
now you're pointing at me, and I'm feeling a little threatened right now. So, number one, you're on work time. Hold on. You're raising your voice. You're pointing at me, and you're on work time. So let's be very clear.
But you just said it's okay for me to
No,
talk as an
exactly.
individual
But
on
if you
work
want to
time.
talk to me as an individual,
I
talk
would-
to me in an appropriate tone, and don't point at me like that, because I'm starting to feel a little
then,
physically
okay.
threatened.